UCLA could be in for a rematch with Kentucky here.
They can on the lower side of that South bracket.
Yeah, they should.
I think they relish that because they love to run up and down the court with Kentucky, and I don't think that Kentucky has changed their style of game since that first game. It would be a terrific game to watch. I wish it would. They could have met them a little later if they weren't in the same bottom part of that bracket. But I think UCLA handles Kent State easily, and then they run into. What could be
probably Cincinnati.
Well, Wake Forest or Kansas City, both of those teams. In fact, I heard something today on a new radio program where Brent Musburger went.
Right.
The Vegas sports information network.
Yeah.
It's a gambling at the South Point Hotel in Las Vegas, and so they do a thing called a numbers game. And they were talking with a statistician who talks about the teams that might be the king killers, the king slayers, and Wake Forest, Kansas State can emerge from that and possibly beat a Cincinnati team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then UCLA could be facing an 11 seed in that second game before moving on and likely facing Kentucky.
Yeah. And that's what's always scary. You see, Arizona always they got to get through that first game. Arizona's, always had that first game struggle. You look at Kansas, same thing. It always seems like somebody gets bumped, and I'd like to see somebody like in Arizona, go deep, just for the sake of the tournament. Top teams
they've got an easy ride here.
They're playing great. Well, St. Mary's can play. They can play a tough
28
game.
4.
Yeah.
They're tough.
Yep.
And if you saw what happened over there in that conference, Gonzaga lost at home to BYU, and then in the tournament struggled a little bit, and then St. Mary's just destroyed BYU, them.
Yeah.
And then obviously Gonzaga, handled St. Mary's, but St. Mary's is a very good half-court team. That could give Arizona fits. I mean, Arizona really likes to get up and down, but that's not as easy as second round.
It's not a given.
No, that's not a given. I still like Arizona there.
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's can stop shooting sometimes, and stop scoring, but it's one of those things where if you're an Arizona fan or if you're a Pac-12 fan, you just sort of look at that game and go, "Oh no,
scary." Yeah.
What about Oregon? Oregon lost. They lost their one of their top scorers, but they've got.
I think it was their sixth man.
They got Iona in the first round, Creighton. Then they could end up against Louisville out of that Midwest regional. But I would like to see. I'd like to at least see the Pac-12 representatives, move a few games into the tournament, because they're not really very highly thought of in the East, because the East Coast, they go to bed before the games are played. They don't know anything about it. They look at the box score. They have no idea how good these teams are, because they never see them play, and that's reflected in a lot of times in the seedings and the rankings as well. So I'd like to see the Pac-12 teams do well.
Oregon's very good. As you said, they lost their player Boucher to an ACL injury, so he's gone. But the rest of that team is just so good and should handle Iona pretty easily. And then they get Creighton or Rhode Island.
Right.
And Creighton's not very good, but Rhode Island could upset them there. So if anybody is gambling and they want to pick, I'd go with Rhode Island. That's Creighton's a 6, Rhode Island's an 11, and that game is a 1.5. It's at -1.5 for Creighton right now.
Wow,
so I take that 1.5 or bet the money line on Rhode Island.
Yeah, so either the seedings aren't right, or somebody knows something we don't know.
Yeah, which reminds me of where they really got it wrong on the Dayton and Wichita State. in the at a 7-10 in the South region, where that Wichita State team with 30 wins, 30-4 is the 10 seed, and Dayton 24-7 is
absolutely
is
no
the
love
7
right
seed, and Wichita State is a 6-point favorite in that game.
I don't know. It's hard to.
They got it wrong there. They clearly got it wrong. Most other places they got it right, except for USC, where they put in the play in instead of actually in. But I think they got it right in a lot of, for the most part. If you listen to Jay Billis and Dick Vitale, they thought Syracuse. They were all riding Syracuse. But again, it's that East Coast bias.
Yeah, exactly.
So they want every team from the ACC to be in, and they want.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and every team from the Pac-12 to be out.
Yeah, exactly. Or to limit it.
Yeah.
I mean, Cal was a very good defensive team. They weren't much fun to watch offensively, but they made a case for themselves. But Cal was just never going to get in with this field. They just weren't.
Yeah.
I think they're playing tonight in an NIT or something.
NIT tournament. Yeah.